definitely expect to receive the characters here. And then I think what will happen is the reveal will be here. So on the 19th, I talked about this in my calendar video yesterday. Probably nothing is going to happen on this weekly reset because they're just going to be preparing for the drop of Legends Fest characters here. This will be the reveal. The next day will be the character release. So we're, November 1st is today. 1, 2, 3. We're literally less than 3 weeks away from the beginning of Legends Fest. So pretty exciting time here. Typically what happens is like August, September, and even to an extent October are a bit slow. October tends to kind of bring the excitement level up a little bit. And we definitely, I think, did see that this October with the release of Ultra Fusion Zamasu. We had the cool 40th anniversary stuff. We had the Red Zamasu unique equip and stuff like that. But now as we're really starting to get into the final countdown leading up to Legends Fest. So this video is going to be a bit different than prior kind of like big celebration prediction videos. Usually what I do in these videos is I go through some different options that we could see for characters. Oh, I think this guy could be a good fit here. I think they could do this here. I've actually created essentially a Legends Fest concept, and I have the full lineup of characters that I personally would create as the Legends Fest celebration. So I'm going to go through what I would do. And this is essentially going to also serve as a prediction, right? Because if this is what I would do, this is what I would predict that I would hope for them to do as well. So we'll go through this in a second. Before we jump into that, my philosophy behind the way that I am going to do this and the character picks that I've put out and my reasoning for the colors, because I've also put colors to these characters as well. If we take a look at the past 3 major celebrations, so the past 3 Legends Fests and anniversaries, there is a pretty common trend amongst these Part 1 characters. So the 7th anniversary Part 1 characters, UI, Goku, and Evolution Blue Vegeta, these characters clearly were both meant to buff the Universe Rep tag first and foremost and be ran together, okay? Prior to this, we had Legends Fest 2024, which I think I skipped. Yeah, here we go. Legends Fest 2024 Part 1 was transforming Vegeta Blue and transforming Goku Black. Clearly both meant to be ran together on the future team, but they were, supposed to synergize well with each other and be ran together. And then before that, we had the 6th anniversary Part 1 units, who were the Synchro Gauge Super Vegito and the Synchro Gauge Gogeta Blue units, who were mostly, I would probably classify these 2 characters as more flexible than the other major celebration first Part 1 characters, but these guys ultimately were designed to be ran together on the Fusion Warrior team. But going back one celebration before this is Legends Fest 2023, we had the Part 1 Red Transforming Beast Gohan and the Evolution Blue Vegeta and Blue Kaioken Goku characters. This is, I think, the way that they should be doing Part 1s. It makes more sense than dropping 2 characters that are supposed to be ran together more so than not. And that's the way that I've designed my Legends Fest celebration kind of like concept here. I don't have a lot of characters that are supposed to be ran together dropping in the same part because I think spreading out the buffs for as many teams as possible to keep things interesting and diverse is the goal. That is my main goal with this. At the end of this concept, I will go through every single tag that this buffs, and my main objective for this concept is to leave Legends Fest with as many teams and characters as viably possible that we've seen, and probably hopefully forever. So this is, I think, if you take a look back to how this was handled, the 2023 Legends Fest Part 1 characters, Part 1, the meta here was insanely good. We had this guy who was, good on movies, good on hybrids. This character who was good on universe reps. They were good on their respective teams as well for the Goku family and Vegeta clan. And then we had a bunch of other teams that were also still viable back then. So this was a really good Part 1 to Legends Fest. It wasn't really until we got into like Part 2 and Part 3 where things start to kind of fall apart with Goku and Bardock and Ultra UI Goku, which kind of like stalemated the meta a little bit. So that's something that I'd want to avoid, but at least Part 1, I think, was done justice here. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into my concept here. We'll start in order. We'll go from Part 1 to Part 2 to Part 3. I have banner characters, I have 1% sparking characters, I have unique equips, and Zenkais all listed here as part of this concept. So the first thing we're going to talk about, Part 1, we have 2 LF banners. I don't think this is going to change. I guess we could just quickly talk about the format. Part 1, I think, is going to be 2 LF banners. Part 2, I think, is going to be 2 LF banners. And then Part 3, I think, is going to be 1 Ultra character. We did see, for the 7th anniversary, them drop 2 Ultra characters at the same time. We kind of thought something was up with this because Cell was the only Ultra in between Legends Fest 2024 and the 7th anniversary. And lo and behold, something was up because we got 2 Ultras here. But in between Anniversary and Festival, we've already had 2 Ultras drop, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Fusion Zamasu, so I don't think they're going to once again drop double Ultras. They've also stated that double Ultras are not going to be a thing, that it's going to be very common throughout this game's lifespan moving forward. And I don't think that this is a time to drop once again 2 Ultras. So I think it will be 1 Ultra at the end, and then Part 1 and 2 will each have 2 LF banners. So it's not really an unfamiliar format. But that's what I think we're going to see. And then the other thing, real quick, I know I have a lot of things to talk about here, but the way they handled the 7th anniversary was kind of almost like a redoing of the game in a way. They introduced like the UI overhaul, the huge app update. We had the dynamic area battle system, double Ultras, and they've had this new design philosophy kind of that was started with DB, but it kind of evolved throughout the anniversary. To me, the 7th anniversary almost kind of felt like a renewal of the game in a way. And I think a lot of the kits of the characters themselves didn't really have that level of innovation that we'd like to see from major celebration characters. Like, you could take a look at the Saiyan Saga characters, Kaioken Goku and the Revival Vegeta. These were both really good characters, obviously impacted the meta very, they impacted the meta a lot, okay? But there wasn't really anything super unique about these kits. More so what was done in the anniversary was looking at the actual game overall and updating the game itself. So now that we kind of have that out of the way, I am going to be looking at the characters themselves, and hopefully during Legends Fest we will see at least the Part 1 characters and the Ultra character have some kind of new and interesting mechanics being brought to the table. That's what I'm looking for. So for Part 1, the first LF banner that I do want to talk about is actually going to be related to Dragon Ball Daima. The banner that I would have is a blue LF Mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and then I'd have a 1% sparking red Pansy. Red is the least represented color for Daima. We only have this red Super Saiyan Goku. Now, granted, Daima is not some massive, expansive tag here, but it would be nice to have at least one other red character here. The reason why I went for blue on a mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku is because overall the game just needs a strong offensive blue character. The only strong offensive blue character we have in the game is transforming UI Goku, and he's not even what I would consider to be like a super powerful modern blue character. He's good, but he's not, Ultra Fusion Zamasu, Ultra Full Power Frieza, even something to the level of like the Gammas. His damage is still fine, but he's more of a stall character. He's a dodging character. He is a countering character. That's his role. So I think the game overall right now really does need a strong, offensive, powerful blue unit. Daima essentially can right now use any color. So I think focusing more so on what the game needs overall for this Goku's color is more important right now, right? We could say, let's make him purple. Oh, let's make him yellow because Daima needs a yellow or something like that. Daima needs everything, okay? Daima needs everything. So I think a blue Goku to kind of lead off with something the game really needs the most is what we need here. I also have some notes here for what I think would be a good design philosophy for this character, just based off of the way that he fought in the show. So you guys remember back to the show, it was kind of Goku like almost like surfing on the rocks and like flipping around and fighting on different surfaces. So I think this is where they can really start to work in some of these unique abilities tied to whether or not you're fighting in the air or on the ground. Actually make the dynamic area battle system feel dynamic, not just through the way that it works, but through the kits of the characters. So I think something that they could do is they could actually work this into the character's unique gauge. So what I would do is I would give a blue mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku an attack style unique gauge. He would be mostly an attacking character, probably melee type character. And what I would have it do is every time you fill up the unique gauge in the middle of a combo, it would reset, and you would, in the middle of the combo, either hit the opponent from the ground into the air, or hit the opponent from the air to the ground. So you would actively be able to change which part of the map you're on in the middle of a combo when you fill up his unique gauge, and then the character would have different advantages, different types of buffs, depending on whether you're fighting in the air or on the ground. So there'd be a part of his kit, let's just say, for example, if we open up this guy as just a reference point, it could be something like, the following effects occur when this character is in the high area, and then there'd be a bunch of bullet points. And then there would also be a different section that said the following effects occur when this character is in the low area. And you have a bunch of different bullet points that have, different advantages and weaknesses. So I think having a character designed around actually having drawbacks and advantages to being in different areas, and also the character having a proactive way to move the fight to those different areas, is an interesting way to design the character, and that also does fit in really well with how he was portrayed in the show, right? Him fighting Goma as mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku's moving around a lot. He's kind of like, sliding around on the rocks and stuff. So that kind of makes sense to me. So that's what I want to see here for the first banner. And then in terms of the supporter, remember, we are going to be getting, if it is going to be 2 LF banners in each part, we're going to be getting at least 4 supporters throughout the Legends Fest celebration. I think this is where they can finally start to introduce some of these big characters. So we have Goma as the supporter here. I put supporter Third Eye Goma as the supporter for this banner. It would not be probably a character we would see introduced in the traditional sense. Whenever they would feel like dropping something like Grade 8 Vegeta from the Saiyan Saga, or Hirudegarn, or Cell Max, right? They would most likely drop those characters as supporters because they just haven't found a way to really execute giant characters in this game. So them being supporters, I think, makes sense here. So I'd have a supporter Third Eye Goma, 1% Red Pansy, and then an LF Mini Blue Super Saiyan 4 Goku as the first banner for part 1. Second banner for part 1. All right, we're going to jump over to movies. We're going to jump over to movies here. It's probably someone that you're not thinking of. Most people are probably like, oh, he's going to movies. It's going to be Super Gogeta. Nah, I'm actually going to have the movies character be. He's far back here, I think. He's this guy, Broly. Full power Broly from Dragon Ball Super Broly is the second part 1 character here. So part 1, the 2 LF characters would be Mini Daima Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Dragon Ball Super Broly. And what I would do for this Dragon Ball Super Broly is, I think a really good idea for this guy would just simply be to make him the first multi-transformation character. So he would start out as Wrathful Broly, and then he'd transform into Super Saiyan, and then he'd transform into full power. Didn't really list how I would want this to happen. It could happen through a unique gauge, but I think the most likely outcome here is they just make it tied to his main abilities. But if you take a look at transforming characters, let's just, who's like a recent transforming character? Not Revival, obviously. This Red Broly, for example. When we have LF transforming characters, they usually put their main abilities to be 20 counts to transform. I think if you're going to have a multiple transformation character, you might want to maybe shorten this to at least like 15 counts, maybe 10. And what you probably want to do is maybe make the first form or something like that not super crazy. Just to incentivize you to transform pretty fast. But yeah, we are so overdue for a Dragon Ball Super Broly. This is the last premium, either LF or Ultra Dragon Ball Super Broly we got. And this is the only premium Dragon Ball Super Broly 7 years into the game. So kind of crazy that that's still the case. Another option here is they could end up doing this character for an Ultra. I think that's completely viable on the table for sure. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that happened, but for this concept that I'm doing, it would be a yellow LF Dragon Ball Super Broly. Powerful opponent needs a yellow. Movies can use a strike-based yellow since their best options right now are the Gammas in terms of the yellow slot. He'd have a really strong Zenkai bench option with this yellow Broly on the bench. And just overall, I think we need representation for this character. Movies is a tag that's kind of been buffed. They haven't had a dedicated campaign for it, right? We got Metal Cooler, we have Red Zenkai Cooler, we have 13, we have the 1% Sparking 14 and 15, we have the Gamma with their equip. But there hasn't really been a dedicated movie celebration this entire year. They've kind of just been slowly giving us some characters to buff the tag. So I think finally like a huge dedicated movies character drop here could be what we need. And that would really help the team a lot. And then what I would do is I would drop a 1% green golden Frieza. Green is a color for movies that isn't spectacular. We have God Goku, who's still decent, but you know, God Goku's not really competing with the likes of modern, like recent characters. So a green golden Frieza could be nice. We actually don't have at all a golden Frieza from the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, so getting him involved into the game finally after 7 years is also, I think, something that we should be looking at. And he could also help Eloy, although it kind of takes a back burner to buffing movies because Eloy, of course, already has Ultra Full Power Frieza, who's green. So wanted to prioritize the movies here. And then for the supporter, I would do a supporter Chilai and Lemo character. Lemo is a character that you're not going to see in the game as an actual like fighter. Chilai has been in the game as a kind of like a fighter. It's this character right here. It's Broly in Chilai Assist. But this is clearly a character alongside Lemo who I think are perfectly oriented to be supporters, because they're not going to be, you know, main fighting characters. So that's what I would do for that banner. And then outside of the banners, so this is still part 1. So we're talking about part 1 drops here. Both characters drop here. And then the 26th, I think, is where we would see a Zenkai Awakening. And I would also put a unique equipment here as well. So the 26th, what I would do is I would Zenkai LF Blue Beast Gohan to coincide with the release of Broly as a movies buff. So you'd have yellow Broly as a movies buff. You'd have blue LF Beast Gohan Zenkai as a movies buff. You could run them alongside 13 if you want to. You could also throw on something like Red Cooler. You could run them next to the Gammas if you wanted to. Yellow, yellow, blue setup. But Blue Beast Gohan, I think, is a pretty important character right now, because not only does he help movies a lot, but he really does help hybrids as well. We just got the Future Gohan Zenkai. We just got that red 40th anniversary Gohan support for hybrids. I mean, they gave that Gohan hybrid support for a reason. He doesn't just buff DB with his support, it's also hybrids. So having that Gohan, Beast Gohan ready to go to help that hybrid team and kind of fill in the roster as like the third major hybrid that we could run on that setup, I think is also really important. And he kind of fits the theme of, you know, Dragon Ball Super movies here. So I'm going to put him in here as the Zenkai that would release here. And then for the unique equipment, what I would do is, if we go back to Daima, actually, I would give the unique equipment to Tamagami number 3. You could theoretically do a unique equipment for any character, right? You could give one to Red Goku, you could give one to Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, or you could straight up give one to Super Saiyan 4 Goku if you're feeling very generous. I think it's possible they could do that. I wouldn't do that. I would give it to Tamagami number 3, and I would kind of position Tamagami number 3 to be like the Blue Saiyan Saga Goku of Legends Fest, right? Obviously, Blue Saiyan Saga Goku is a Saiyan, so you could fit him on a bunch of different teams. He could be much more effective than something like Tamagami number 3 across the game. But Tamagami number 3 kind of was the staple defensive character for Daima for a long time. Even when we had like Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and Super Saiyan 4 Goku running around in March of this year, Tamagami number 3 was still a very powerful character to throw on the team next to them. And the fact that he's got the type neutrality, all those charges of type neutrality, he's got the disrupt at half HP, he's got the rising rush stealing, he's got the Dragon Ball acquisition when you use a rush. This guy, I think, could be a really strong unique equip for Daima, and because he's purple, he would work well with a hypothetical blue mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku and a red Pansy that you could build the team around, because it would be a color wheel of blue, purple, red, which means Tamagami number 3 is positioned perfectly to be like the centerpiece of the team, which works when you're a defensive character like this character. So I think this guy would be a really good unique equip recipient. And then the other thing I would drop which I'm pretty sure is happening no matter what, is a platinum equipment for Gogeta Blue, and that would coincide, of course, with a hypothetical LF Dragon Ball Super Broly, new version of this character. Again, if they wanted to do this guy as an Ultra in Part 3, we're still going to get this. And guess what? Even if we don't get a Dragon Ball Super Broly at all anywhere in the celebration, we probably would still get the platinum equipment for Gogeta Blue, because they're seemingly going in order of major celebration ultras getting platinum equipments. Remember, we had Legends Fest 2024. We got the platinum equipment for Ultra Super Gogeta, right? This guy right here. 7th anniversary, we got the platinum equipment for Ultra Super Vegito, and then, you know, it makes sense that we would then get the platinum equipment for Gogeta Blue here. So That's what I'm thinking we'll see. And that's what I would do for part 1, right? So it would be those two guys here. So we'd get a Zenkai for LF Blue Beast Gohan and the unique equip for Tamagami number 3 here. And then we'd move into December. And then December 3rd, we would get a free-to-play character. I don't actually have free-to-play characters listed here anywhere, but you can get a free-to-play character here, or it could be the prior week. But this is where I drop the platinum equipment for Gogeta Blue. Would drop right here. So, and then the part 2 characters would drop on the 10th, which follows what we did last year. So moving into part 2, the first character I have, and this plays into what I was talking about at the beginning of the video, where I didn't want to drop 2 characters right away that would work perfectly together. So part 1, we dropped Blue Mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Yellow DBS Broly. They're buffing different teams. They're going to be ran across different teams with different characters, so we kind of have more diversity there. What I would do for part 2 is we'd actually go back to Daima, and I would do a mini Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, and I would make him yellow to work well with Super Saiyan 4 Goku, the one that drops in part 1. And so at that point, you would have a color wheel of yellow, blue, and purple, which shifts the center of the team from Tamagami number 3 to the mini blue Goku, because Goku, you know, covers the weakness of the yellow character to red, and then Tamagami covers the weakness of the blue Goku to green. And that's kind of the way that you'd position this team. So you'd have 2 brand new LF characters for this team. You'd have a renewed Tamagami number 3. I would also drop a 1% green Tamagami number 2 character. You really don't... He could kind of be any color. It doesn't have to be green. It could be blue or red or something like that. It doesn't really matter. Eventually, they're going to have to get all these Tamagamis in the game, right? So I think just getting one of them out of the way here is fine. It's not really a huge deal here, but... and then what I would do for the supporter... My idea for this is a supporter Bulma, okay, from Daima. And what she would do is she would forcibly stop your own combo when you have a Vegeta clan doing a combo. So a certain amount of counts would elapse, and then after that, Bulma would be active. And then once Bulma is active, if you are comboing with a Vegeta clan character, she would forcibly stop your own combo, but then she would give you some kind of buff in return. So you'd either, you know, you maybe like you'd heal 30% HP and you get 2 Dragon Balls, or I don't know, maybe you get more damage the next combo or something like that. But you get some kind of benefit for your own combo being stopped. And then obviously this is from the scene where she makes Vegeta stop fighting Goma. That's the idea for the supporter Bulma. For mini Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, I think what I would do for him is, again, you take a look at how mini Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta fought Tamagami number 2 in his fight the first time he goes to Super Saiyan 3, and they kind of have the fight in the air and under the water. For the purposes of Legends, they probably wouldn't go through the trouble of creating an entire underwater system to the game, so I'm just going to be treating the underwater portion of that fight almost as if it was on the ground. But if you recall back to the fight that Vegeta had with the Tamagami number 2, Vegeta did most of the attacking in the air, and then when he was underwater, he did almost all defensive abilities. So what I would do is I would almost position a mini Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta to be sort of like a Red Zamasu, where he has 2 different types of unique gauges, but instead of them changing depending on his actions, if you take a hit or if you do a hit, it would be depending on where he is in the map. So if Vegeta is in the air, he'd have the attack style unique gauge, and then if he's on the ground, he would have the defense style unique gauge, and you would share the progression between both unique gauges depending on where you are. So if you are in the air and you do like a bunch of attacks and you build your unique gauge up to almost full up, and then you go down to the ground, you can change it to the defense style unique gauge and it would still have, like, you know, almost the full thing. Kind of like how Zamasu works, but it would be dependent upon where you are on the map. So that's how I would design a potential mini Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Again, to make him yellow. So that would be the first banner. The second banner I would do is, going into the land of universe reps, is I would actually do a new version of, where is he? Of Full Power Jiren. I would actually make him purple. So we have our second LF purple Full Power Jiren. And the way that I would design him is he would be a defensive character. Is this guy defense type? He actually might be. Let me just see. He's a range type. Never mind. I would make this new purple Full Power Jiren a defense type. and he would have a comeback, which would include kind of like a portion of the Topo speech. Remember when Jiren kind of is getting beaten down by Golden Frieza and Android 17, and he's like basically ready to give up, and then Topo comes in and gives him like a pep talk, and then he kind of like powers up again. That is what I would put for his comeback. The 1% sparking for the Jiren banner would be a super light speed Dispo who is not in the game. The only sparking Dispo in the game is this red Dispo, right? I don't think there's another Dispo. Yeah, there's no other Dispo. It's just this Dispo, and this is not the super light speed, kind of like, there's no UI Dispo in the game. It's the Dispo who fought Angel, Golden Frieza, and Gohan, is that like super light speed Dispo. Not in the game, so that would be kind of a cool character to get in here. They could also do like a transforming Topo into God of Destruction Topo, which also doesn't exist in the game. But I'd be okay with either one of those things. I have Dispo being yellow. It doesn't really matter too much. Universe Reps has a lot of different characters. I think the reason why I made him yellow is just because yellow is probably the worst color for Universe Reps right now. It's really just Kale and Caulifla, who are still decent, but yeah, I mean, they're probably yellow is the weakest color for this team. And then the supporter that I would have for the Jiren banner would be a Bell mod, so the Universe 11 God of Destruction. I would have this activate after a certain number of timer counts have elapsed, and what the effect would be is it would increase the arts damage of your next attack. It's kind of like the scene where they finally have Jiren actually start attacking, and Belmaj like kind of telepathically tells Jiren, he's like, all right, enough fooling around, go finish him off or whatever. That's what the supporter would be for Belmod. So it would be an actual offensive supporter. We've not seen that before, where it actually buffs your damage. But I think that's something that we're eventually just going to get. So I think this is a good opportunity to start doing those. And the reason why I would have Jiren be purple is he would work well with blue UI. Purple and blue work really well. And another reason is because the Zenkai that I would have for part 2 is red UI Goku. So we'd have red UI Goku Zenkai, we have blue UI Goku, and then we'd have purple Jiren. So you'd have the red, purple, blue color wheel working really well for this. And typically when you have teams with at least one UI Goku on it, especially a team with 2 UI Gokus on it, having a defensive character is a must. Kind of like, talking about the 2023 Legends Fest meta with Pikkon and Goku and Bardock, one of my least favorite metas ever. Mostly because of the way that yellow UI Goku worked, not so much because of how the other characters worked, but I think having a defensive character next to these 2 UI Gokus would be ideal. So purple Jiren next to the 2 mastered UI Gokus, I think would be really good. Something else we could talk about, I don't think they would do this, but at least it would be on the table, is if they did do a Universe Reps themed banner here at all during the celebration, they could give a unique equip to the Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta character. This character fell off very quickly in 2023. They came out in part 1, they were actually really good. And then it wasn't really until we got to like part 2 and 3 of the celebration where they just started to really age very quickly, mostly because of the auto counters that existed. So it would be nice for this character to eventually see some resurgence through unique equip, but I don't know if now is the correct time for this. I think if I had to choose between this character getting an equip and this guy getting a Zenkai, this guy getting a Zenkai is definitely a priority, I think, at this point. But Universe Reps also has access to things like Kefla. We have some decent 1% sparkings with Kale and Caulifla and Kaba. Evolution Blue Vegeta, I thought about potentially them giving this guy a unique equip, but the reason why I didn't do this is because Jiren I already made to be a purple unit. And I didn't want to give this guy a unique equip, and all of a sudden you have like these 2 purples that are clashing against each other on the same team. So I think a different time for this guy to get one would be better. And then Ultra Hit as well is, of course, still pretty good as well. And then this guy's like, okay, this reviving UI Sign Goku. And then just to go back to Vegeta, the reason why I would make him yellow is, like I mentioned, position him to work with the blue and purple color wheel of the Daima team. So we go back over here, just go back to Daima, which is here. We'd have the Tamagami number 3 with his unique equip. We'd have the new blue mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku from part 1. And then, so yeah, you'd have like the yellow, blue, purple color wheel. And then also Vegeta Clan, which we can get to by doing this. Vegeta Clan hasn't gotten a yellow since Majin Vegeta. So it's been over a year since Vegeta Clan got a yellow, right? We had Future Gohan and Trunks. We had Super Trunks. We had Daima Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. We had Saiyan Saga Vegeta. We had Evolution Blue Vegeta. And we've had Red Super Saiyan 4 Ultra Vegeta. So a lot of Vegeta Clan characters have dropped since Majin Vegeta. None of them have been yellow. So I think yellow is actually a pretty good color for Vegeta Clan as well, which is why I wanted to do it this way. Okay, so now we can move on to part 3. I don't think this is going to be a shock to most people. This is not like some, underdog pick that nobody else has picked. I mean, this is not like, whatever. It's going to be Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Goku from GT. So the way that I would design this guy is, first of all, I would make him green. I think green is a very good typing for this team, mainly because you could run a team of Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and then you could run a green, so you'd have a purple, red, green color wheel. The center of the team would be Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. However, I would also accompany Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Goku with dropping a unique equip for Super Baby 2. So if you wanted to run this guy over the purple Super Saiyan 3 Goku, you could do this, and then that would shift the team to being centered around green Super Saiyan 4 Goku, because then you'd have a green, red, yellow color wheel, with green being in the middle between these two colors. So you could kind of do both ways, and I think this is a really strong lineup for GT. I would make the mechanic. So again, I'm giving all these characters kind of like interesting mechanics. That's what I think they need to do for these units. For green Super Saiyan 4 Goku, there's a lot they could do with this guy, but what I would do is I looked at the fight that he had versus Baby, and this is also something that Dokkan did as well with their LR Full Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku, which is the Goku that fought, Grade 8 Baby. I would give him a new type of revival mechanic. Okay. It wouldn't be an actual revive because they don't give Ultras transformations. They don't want to either do new arts for their transformations or whatever the case is, but they don't do transformations for Ultra characters. So it would kind of be a comeback, but it would be a new mechanic. This would be a new mechanic. Once Goku dies, there'd be an animation that plays where like he kind of, he steps back or something and he's like, okay, I need help or whatever. And then at that point, he would start charging what's called a revival gauge. The way you fill the revival gauge is by having the remaining characters on your team do damage and take hits. And then once the gauge is full, Goku comes back and he gets stronger and gets different buffs. But this can only happen once per fight. So it kind of is, you can look at it as having positives and negatives. It could actually be worse than like a traditional revival mechanic, and the reason why is because if you're the last character left and you die as Goku, you're not going to be able to do, like, you just lose, right? Because you're not going to be able to trigger the revive gauge to charge. But if Goku dies first, and I think they'd have to give him probably like a lot of subcount manipulation and things like that to be able to come in and eat big hits and die on purpose first. But you would get a huge buff from getting this off. It would be a really, really big deal. And they could also, of course, do other things as well. They could give him like active gauges. They could, of course, you'd have some kind of unique gauge, but they could do a lot of different stuff with this character too. But that is something that I think really encompasses how the fight went in GT versus Grade 8 Baby, right? Goku is essentially, he needs Oob to buy time for the other characters to give him enough of their energy so he can go into full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I wouldn't actually have this character go into full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I guess what they could do is after the revival gauge activates, they could just give him like the red glow. If you guys remember, I don't think Legends has ever done this before, but technically this guy, this full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku, full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku has a red like outline glow around him to symbolize that he is full power. So they could just do that as like a visual trigger to like let you know that he is full power. But that's what I would do for a green Super Saiyan 4 Goku. So that is basically my entire concept here. So part 2 would drop here. The 17th would be the red LFUI Goku Zenkai. The 24th would be the drop of the part 3 character. This would be green Super Saiyan 3, or green Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and the baby equip would both drop here. And then we'd have New Year's the next week, which would be its own thing. So you guys can let me know what you think. Just to recap quickly, my concept for this is part 1. We would have one banner featuring a blue LF mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku from Daima, 1% sparking red Pansy, and then we'd have a supporter Third Eye Goma, giant Third Eye Goma. The second banner in part 1 would be yellow LF Dragon Ball Super Broly, who transforms multiple times from Wrathful to Super Saiyan to full power. 1% green Golden Frieza from the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, and the supporter would be Chilai and Lemo. And then besides that, in part 1, we'd have a Tamagami number 3 unique equipment we'd have an LF Blue Beast Gohan Zenkai Awakening, and we'd have an Ultra Gogeta Blue Platinum equipment. Part 2, we would have, for the first banner, LF Yellow Mini Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. We would have a 1% green Tamagami number 2, and then we'd have a supporter Bulma from when Vegeta was fighting Goma. The second banner would be an LF Purple Full Power Jiren with a comeback mechanic, a 1% yellow Super Lightspeed Dispo, and then the supporter would be a Bell mod. And then we'd have a Zenkai Awakening for LF Red UI Goku for part 2. And then part 3 would be Green Ultra GT Super Saiyan 4 Goku and a unique equipment for LF Super Baby 2. Now, if you look at everything that I just talked about, and you consider every single tag that this buffs, and this is the main reason why I constructed the concept to look like this. At the end of the day, this celebration would buff Sun Family, Vegeta Clan, Daima, Powerful Opponent, Movies, Universe Reps, GT, Hybrid Saiyans, God Key, Lineage of Evil, Fusion Warriors, and of course Saiyans. You'd be buffing 12 different tags. Obviously, you would need to actually have like some kind of balance to it. Clearly, the Ultra would be the best, but I think that's fine because I purposely didn't give GT any other buffs throughout the celebration besides giving the equip for Baby. So you'd still have a really powerful Ultra with Vegeta. You'd have a really good LF with Super Saiyan 3 Goku. A brand new major celebration Ultra GT Super Saiyan 4 Goku would probably be the best character in the game. And then a unique equipment for this character. But then you'd have multiple other really crazy units for every other tag that I just mentioned. So hopefully by the end of this, again, my goal with this concept is to just have as many viable characters and teams as possible to give as much diversity to the meta as possible. That is the goal, the main objective with this concept. And I think this would result in the best possible outcome for the game. I think we gave significant hype characters spotlight throughout this. I think we gave Daima spotlight throughout this, which people have wanted for a long time. Dragon Ball Super Broly hasn't gotten representation in a long time, so I gave him something. I've seen a lot of people ask for Jiren for a long time, so I dropped him at a position that I think makes sense to drop him. And one of the last remaining like super crazy exciting ultras that we haven't gotten in Super Saiyan 4 GT Goku, gonna drop him here. And that's it. That would conclude my concept. So you guys can let me know down below what you think about this idea for a Legends Fest 2025 celebration. Are there any changes you would make to my concept? And let me know what characters you want to see for Legends Fest. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one.